Hello everyone, welcome to another live hangout here at Voice Essentials. We are a smidge early today by seconds. I hope you are well, healthy, and in good spirits wherever you are. Make sure you let us know in the chat where you're from, what the weather's like, those sorts of things. But be mindful of the fact that this is a family show. And be careful too about what you place in the chat. I did just have to remove one comment for a particular reason, but so just be mindful of the fact that there are younger people in the chat, and we need to be appropriate with our discussion because we are a supportive community here at Voice Essentials. We are all about the idea that everybody sings. And today is our second last show for the year, the penultimate show for 2022. What a crazy ride this year has been. It kind of kicked off with COVID still looming large in our not even in our peripheral. Here in Australia, it was kind of still a thing, as we kind of got into the start of 2022, but as the year has gone on, certainly here in Australia, it's kind of started to, we're kind of reaching our new normal balance, I think, I hope. And so, yeah, we're kind of exiting the pandemic, if you like. And yeah, it's been a wild ride. It was actually Linda this morning when she messaged me, as she does every Monday morning, and let me know that today is our 20th Q&A for the year. 20. And then I jumped on and I had a look at, well, how many live guests have we had on? We've had 13 live guests on the show this year. International, renowned pedagogues, vocal pedagogues, singing teachers, researchers. I mean, we have had the most amazing people on the show. 13, and here's a little thing. I have got a very special guest for you next week. For the last show of 2023, I did say that we weren't having any more special guests for the year, but I've been able to fit in one more. I am not going to tell you who it is. There won't be a thumbnail that gives it away. You have to tune in next week. It's a surprise. It's a special surprise, and Linda and I both agree this will be fun. There's a hint. So we are going to have our last show next week, and just so you know, we then take what equates to around about 2 months off. I generally take December, January off. I need a holiday. This year I really do need a holiday. And Linda needs a holiday. Linda, the wonderful Linda, she needs a holiday. So we take, for the most part of December, January off. That being said, the first show for 2023 will actually be Monday, the 30th of January. So it's kind of the first week of February, but it's not, if that makes sense. I didn't want to leave it too long. So it's 1 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on Monday, the 30th of January is when we'll kick off again. Of course, for you to get all the notifications from YouTube, all you need to do is subscribe to the channel, hit the white bell icon to make sure you get the email notifications for when we go live. And we're going to do this all again. I mean, you continue to give me the feedback that continues to motivate me that this is a good thing, and we it's the Q&As that we're going to do today, the 20th for 2022. It's the Q&As, it's the special guests that are so generous with their time and their expertise that why wouldn't we do it again? It's too much fun. Okay, what else do I need to do? Oh, I do need to let you know. Where am I going? I do need to let you know about the Black Friday sale. It is currently live. And so if you have not yet enrolled in the Voice Essentials online courses, now is the best time to do that. Additional to the Black Friday sales, and it's 50% off everything in the voiceessentials.com.au website. So that's all 4 courses. It's the bundles. It's everything is 50% off. But here's another interesting little factoid. So you just use that the coupon code Black Friday 50. So when you go to checkout, apply Black Friday 50 where it says coupon, and you'll receive a 50% discount. That is only running until what is the end of Monday, my time, Australian Eastern Standard Time. So it's around about 7 days you've got to take advantage of that. If you live in the US, and this is a big thing, currently the Australian dollar is performing rather poorly against the US dollar. And so if you want to really take advantage of the Black Friday sales in team with the fact that the Australian dollar is performing quite poorly, then you're likely to never get the online courses as cheaply as this. Of course, that is if you're paying in US dollars. I'm not completely around the other dollars, but I do know that currently the Australian dollar is underperforming next to the US. So that, combined with 50% off everything, highly recommend you take advantage of that. I haven't done a sale like this this year, and I'm not going to be doing a sale like this again for the rest of the year. This is, in a sense, the Christmas sale, so please take advantage of it if you are able to. So many of you have enrolled in my online courses, and I continue to receive really positive feedback from real people. You know, when you jump onto some sites and you see the review page and you think, I'm not sure, is this legit? Every single review that you find on my websites, they're all real reviews from real people. And so I know that it will advantage you and develop your voice. And so I hope you can take advantage of that. Black Friday 50. And you've got 7 days to do that. What we have also is essentially 7 days to answer a few more of your questions. Well, we've actually only got the next 40 minutes or so today. And then we're likely to do a Q&A alongside the special guests that we'll have for the final show of 2022 next week. So let's put it this way. If you have a question today, because this might, will it be the last? I don't know. It's our last official Q&A show. So if you absolutely must have your question answered before we hit the Christmas break, the festive period, while I go on my much needed holidays, can I recommend that you use a super chat? That way you'll definitely get your question answered today. As you know, all of the super chats go towards supporting the channel. And I have had some people ask, because I often say, you know, to run this show is expensive. It's not a cheap thing to do. And I've had a couple of people say, well, what do you mean by that? You just, you know, sure, you've had to buy the equipment, but that's all. I etch out 2 teaching hours to do the show. So it at least costs 2 of my teaching hours to do the show. So your super chat dollars are so appreciated. in the support of the channel. And that's why we always prioritize your questions when you put a super chat on. That all being said, I think we probably should get to our Q&A for today. And we'll do that right after this. Okie dokie. Now, I have seen that the first question, and she is deserving of this. She is very much deserving of this. Let me just fix this up and get this angled correctly. I do want to just make sure that sits right. The first question comes from the wonderful Linda. She deserves a question. She doesn't. You know, this is a wonderful thing about Linda. Linda is a person who just serves us. And so today we're going to serve Linda with the first answer. Dr. Dan, how is your Vocalmist going? There is still time to pop it on my wish list for Christmas. Linda, my Vocalmist is going so well. I was using it. I was using it directly before the show. I'll let you in on a little secret. I'm actually not feeling the best today, and neither is my youngest daughter. My eldest daughter thinks maybe we've got some food poisoning. We did go out for dinner last night. Taran and I are just feeling a little bit not great in the tummy. Anyway, so consequently, I have used my Vocalmist to try and, because I'm feeling quite acidic, I've been using my Vocalmist a bit today to sort of help my vocal folds perform. If you're wanting to know what is this contraption, this is a nebulizer, and inside, bring that back. Inside is some hospital grade 0.9% saline solution, and it atomizes. That's what a nebulizer does. Well, where am I going? Over here. And so you get this mist from it. This is called a Vocalmist, and there's actually a link. I think there might be a link in the description section of this video that will take you to an affiliate link of one of these. These are brilliant. I can tell you, Linda, that for my first pre-record video that is slated for December, so not this week, not next week, but the week after, I'm doing I've got a video. It's all sitting there ready to go, that sort of walks you through what the Vocalmist is, the benefits of a nebulizer versus a personal vapor inhaler, and yeah, so I'm going to talk people through that in a few weeks in a dedicated video. But I can tell you, again, I took it to, I was leading worship at my church on Sunday. I took it to church, used it. Fantastic for first thing in the morning. It really lubricates, vocal folds very first thing in the morning, dry vocal folds. And I could not have guessed that this would be as beneficial to my general sense of vocal well-being and vocal health as it has been. It has been a revelation. And for those of you who watch the show regularly, you will know that it was actually Dr. Marcy who I don't think she is a doctor, but she's a highly regarded speech and language pathologist. Marcy Rosenberg Daniels, she told us about it in one of the interviews we had way back in the beginning of the year. And I had known about nebulizers, but they'd always been grouped with personal inhalers, and so I'd never really investigated and explored what the benefit of a nebulizer is. And so it has only been now that I've gone and had one and used one that I am like a zealot convert. Like this is my new best friend when it comes to my my continuous vocal health, my systemic vocal health. It is so good. So good. Love it, love it, love it. With some caveats, but that you'll have to wait to watch the pre-record video to find out about. Just, there's some things that you need to be aware of. They would never stop me from buying it and using it regularly, but there's some things. I'll leave it at that. How's that for a little bit of a tease? Where have we've got a question here from, so there you go, Linda. I hope that is handy to know. And yeah, cool. Oh, I've just seen your comment, Linda. Oh, I may invest in one. Sounds brilliant. Linda, you should. I'm just saying, you should. Okay. Let's go to here. Let's go to, this is a question from Sarah. Hello from Canada. Hello from Australia, Sarah. Happy holidays. Thank you. And I dare say, I know that we're headed to the US Thanksgiving, but am I right in thinking that the Canadian Thanksgiving has already happened? I know that the US Thanksgiving happens immediately before what is now the big Black Friday sales, of which I'm taking part with Voice Essentials. But for some reason, I'm led to think that the Thanksgiving for Canada is at a different time to the US. Sarah, maybe you can let me know, or other people who are watching the show. Oh, I've just saw Karen from Singwise is in the chat. Hello, Karen. Okay, so question about muscle tension dysphonia, MTD. It's a very generic sort of umbrella term. Do you have any suggestions for exercises to rebuild strength? I've never experienced upper range and capability loss before. There are exercises, and in fact, I have a whole video on this particular subject. Sarah, the challenge of muscle tension dysphonia is, as I said, it is an umbrella term. It's not a term that it has any real degree of specificity, in so much as often it's speaking to the symptom and not to the cause. Now, what I mean by that is, it is so important when it comes to our vocal health and us treating a sense of vocal, a compromised voice, that we identify and, when necessary, diagnose. And I'm certainly not that person to do a diagnosis. I can identify things, but until a diagnosis is in place by a laryngologist or an ear, nose and throat doctor, then sometimes we don't know what the root cause is. But that's what we want to do, is we want to identify what is the cause of the symptom that may well be labeled generically as muscle tension dysphonia. And the reason for that is, so many different vocal ailments are expressed audibly and physically, like what the experience of the singer themselves, the voice user. So many ailments are expressed in very similar ways. So, there are a number of things that can lead to real fatigue in the voice. There are a number of things that can lead to a reduction of range. There are a number of things that can lead to an aspirate or breathy voice. And they're just some examples. And so we've got to be so careful in outlining exact treatments when we actually don't know. Well, in this particular case, I don't know what your root cause is, because depending on the root cause may in fact, well, it will govern the direction that the rehabilitative work may take. And so that's a really important thing for you to understand, Sarah, and it may well be that you already know this. As far as rebuilding strength in your voice, we deal with the root cause. Having, where necessary, had the root cause diagnosed by a laryngologist, and then from there we take that and we implement a whole range of things. More often than not, the way I would go about dovetailing the work, because generally speaking, when it comes to muscle tension dysphonia, your first and best port of call will be a speech pathologist, or in certainly in America, I know they're referred to as speech language pathologists, and they will do work around the rebalancing and the rehabilitation of your spoken values, and then thereafter we would then stepping into doing some singing work. And the dovetail work that I typically use to transition from that spoken value work into the singing is more often than not some straw phonation. I don't do any speech pathology. Some straw phonation, and we're looking to really balance and build the stamina of the voice. We use that. I've got videos on this that I'd encourage you to check out as well, Sarah. But it really helps to reestablish stamina and balance, as I've already said. I occasionally use a modified version of Stempel's vocal function exercises in a very singing orientated manner, but that will be in part driven by the work that has been already done by the speech pathologist, and that again, that comes down to, well, what does the voice need? The muscle tension dysphonia, how is that exhibiting? And again, that is going to be driven by the root cause. And so, Sarah, I hope some of that is helpful, and provides you with some ideas to go forward. Check out one particular video that you might find interesting, other than there is a video called Muscle Tension Dysphonia, where I then go on to say in the video, this is not a video about muscle tension dysphonia. Anyway, check that one out. But there is another more recent video, because that MTD video is from ages ago. A more recent one is a video, I think it's labeled, if your voice is sore and tired, try this. Check that video out. I do some straw phonation in that work, but you may find some practical things that will be helpful for you, Sarah, in that video. I'm not administering that video or prescribing that video in relation to your MTD, but it may help in the rebuilding of your voice if it has fallen into some form of, low levels of disrepair. Check it out and let me know in the comments of that video how it goes. Okay, we're going to keep moving. Thomas, let me jump in here. Thomas is asking, how can I start my singing career? Well, the first thing you have to do, Thomas, on any journey is actually plan. It is so important to plan out your journey. And you go, well, that's duh. Of course you've got a plan. Yeah, but so few people actually do, right? And so, common knowledge is not so common at times. So and part of that planning needs to be thinking about, well, maybe another way to think about it is to think, when you're thinking about how high you want a building to be built, yeah? And let's say we're talking about a skyscraper, a high rise, well, that is going to determine how deep your foundations need to go. And in the particular instance of singing, so many people simply want to just open their mouth, have a sing, and hope for the best, and you know, a lot of people on one level kind of get away with that, you know, and they, you know, if all they're doing is singing karaoke once a year, then developing technique is not really necessary. But if you are wanting to have a singing career, then you are going to need a really deep foundation. You are going to need a voice that is founded on the 8 pillars of vocal development. And those 8 pillars, will I remember them? Probably not. One of them is really developing your breath. I am a great believer in developing your breath management. There are some people out there who will suggest that you just let your body breathe naturally and she'll be right. I am yet to meet another human being whose body completely breathes naturally in the most efficient manner. They may well be out there. I just haven't come into contact with them, and I've taught thousands of singers. And every single one of those singers has benefited from the intentional development of their breath management. One of the other pillars is loudness, the ability to develop dynamics in a really balanced and efficient manner, resonance, pitch accuracy, all of these things. I'm racking my brain for the others. They're all on my learning materials. If you grab my learning materials and voiceessentials.com.au, they are listed on every lesson sheet. And so it's so important that you develop a capacity around these things, because it is these things, it's your technique that is going to stand you in good stead for the long journey ahead. A career is only a career if it, you know, if it goes for some time. If all you want to do is sing karaoke once a year, that's not a singing career. Yeah, that's having a bit of a hit and giggle, and that's fun. And I certainly wouldn't want to rob anyone of the fun of that process. But that ain't a singing career. A singing career is going to have people paying you to actually do this thing called singing. And that means, as you may already know, Thomas, that at times you have to step up onto stage when you literally don't feel like it. You may well be, you know, under the weather. You may be emotionally fatigued. You may have had the worst night's sleep that you've ever had the night before. At the end of the day, you're being paid to do the gig, and for the most part, the show will need to go on. There are times, and we've talked about this before on the channel, where the show should not go on and cannot go on. But more often than not, the show is going to need to go on because you're being paid some dollars to rock up and do the gig. It's at those times that technique absolutely comes into its own. I cannot tell you how many times the only reason I have got through the gig without any real significant damage to my voice has been due to vocal technique. Nothing else has got me through that gig. It has been technique, pure and simple. And if I hadn't have had that to rely on, I would have been in a spot of bother. And so starting your singing career has to start with developing your voice, your vocal technique. Alongside that, you are also going to be developing your style and the way you interpret songs. And so the work I do with a number of my students is about developing their capacity to express the aesthetic and make sure that, you know, because at the end of the day, your audience actually don't want to see or hear your technique. Your audience want to be communicated with. And good technique is there to underpin and service that delivery. And so, but we still need to develop those stagecrafts, those points of performance. And so that is going to entail some work you would do with your singing teacher, but it will also entail you getting up and starting to perform. And I'm often encouraging students to, when they're first starting out, to take advantage of performing with community choirs, performing at open mic nights, and there are a whole range of kind of stepping stones towards that professional career. So Thomas, hopefully there's some ideas for you to get you started and get you moving along in the right way. I want to come up here to this question here. This is from Tiglaz1. We'll just say that, Tiglaz. Vocal coaches can be a pricey expense. Is it annoying on their end if someone can only get lessons every so often? I can only speak for myself in this regard. You are right. Quality singing lessons can be expensive. And what is expensive to one person may be inexpensive to another. And so that has to be acknowledged as well. I know that my private lessons do in Australia sit at the more expensive end of things. I saw someone the other day advertising a price where I thought, whoa, and I thought I was expensive. This person was just, my eyes watered when I read what they thought they could charge. It was like, wow. Okay. But in general, I'm still at the expensive end of things, and I don't make any excuses or, apologies for that, because I also have available my online courses, which you can get at 50% off for the next week, which I highly encourage you to take advantage of. And I also have let me bring it up here so that you can see it. It's just coming across the page now. The free course is coming along the bottom. The 7 days to a bettervoice.com course. It's completely free, and I would encourage you to take advantage of that. So, and then you've got YouTube. You can take advantage of that. So to your question specifically, do I get annoyed when students book in on an ad hoc basis? No, I don't. My students that do visit me on an ad hoc basis, and I have 2 or 3 of them, they are very aware that it really hands over the responsibility of discipline and practice, maintaining momentum in their learning. It hands that over to them. When we have regular lessons, weekly or fortnightly is generally what I do, it empowers a momentum that, in a funny kind of way, you don't have to be driven, you don't have to be responsible for, because it kind of does it. And I because I have a pathway of learning that I take students along, it's a pretty straightforward thing. So to just keep stepping that out, and as long as the student is doing their practice on a regular basis, then we see really strong progression and momentum. And I can tell you, Linda is a testament to this, because Linda is one of my regular fortnightly students, has been for a number of years, and the development that we have been witness to in her voice over the last number of years is nothing short of wonderful. She didn't come to me a complete wreck. Like, this lady can sing already, but the way the voice has been empowered by that, very strong, very regular, consistent development is a real testament to Linda, and a testament to the momentum that comes from regular, consistent lessons. And so, no, I don't get annoyed by students who do ad hoc, in part because singing lessons are expensive, and that is what some people can afford to do, and that's what they choose to do, which is why I allow people to do that. However, one has to be cognizant of what that requires in the process. So, to Glaz 1, I hope that answers your questions. I've just seen Karen from Singwise answer, which I literally only just saw this then, Karen. And that's exactly everything. That's pretty much exactly what I just said. It is more challenging to help students progress. And I think Karen, Karen would probably almost certainly agree with, we agree with each other. There you go. Okay, Bradley. I honestly didn't see that until I looked back over to my left here. Okay, what have we got here? Bradley, where is your question? Here we go. Bradley, how long of a vocal range should I have in a singing career, especially as a classically trained tenor? I'm a contemporary singing teacher. My expertise does not branch to classical. I did a couple of years classical training at the Queensland Conservatorium of Music, but I did not continue with that. I went into contemporary. And so I don't know exactly, but what I can tell you is we get too caught up on range. We get way too caught up on how big is my range. And Bradley, I'm not saying this is you per se. I'm talking really general now. I can't help but think this is driven by ego in one sense. Just because you have a 3-octave range doesn't mean you know how to use it. Just because you can sing, let's say as a tenor, Bradley, just say you and I, just because we can both sing an E5 doesn't mean it's a good E5. I find that most singers can do most material. Again, I have to clarify, I'm talking contemporary. Most singers can survive pretty well and sing 90 to 95% of repertoire that's available to sing. Most singers will get away with 2 to 2.5 octaves. And you might think, only two. Yeah, it's not, you don't have to have this crazy wide range to successfully sing a whole bunch of repertoire. And more to the point, if you've got a solid 2 octaves, like these 2 octaves are beautiful bottom to top, top to bottom, then you're going to knock it out of the park 95% of the time. Of course, there is material that has been recorded and sung, and therefore you might find yourself wanting to sing it, that requires a wider range than that. I completely acknowledge that. I'm just saying that we spend so much of our time focused on what we can't do that we neglect this massive amount of repertoire available to us that we could do if we just simply took the time to explore it and to sing it. I know one of the unfortunate things of the modern age is, this is not, I don't think this is so much the case currently. Certainly, I don't think it's the degree, and I'll be cool to get your comments in the live chat. I think there is a sense in which we went through a period, the 90s into the noughties, you know, like a 20-year period, maybe a little bit earlier than the 90s and maybe a little bit later than the noughties. But we went through this 20, maybe 30-year period where the thing to do as a recording artist was to be able to hit uber high notes and sound really cool doing it. And, you know, it is really cool to hear singers hitting uber high notes. With the advent of the singer-songwriter and sort of the real maturation of the indie folk space, that has become less the focus. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. It seems to be that we hear less of that. And I think as a result, we are hearing more repertoire that is sung within a, dare I say, normal pitch range. That it's not 3.5, 4 octaves, and that's the only way. If you don't have 3.5 or 4 octave range like Michael Jackson, then there's no way on God's planet you'll ever sing said song. Now we do have material that you can sing and sound great. And so it comes back to this development of technique and really bedding down the skills that you need to make your range. And a part of that development of technique will have some range extension. And can I correct my choice of term there? Because I'm not, and I've said this many times on the channel, I don't believe in range extension. I believe in range exploration. That is, you're only exploring the biological range that you already have. It's just that you may have not yet developed the skills to utilize that biological range. You cannot extend your range. So if you see people online suggesting, you know, come and have lessons with me or do my online course and I'll add an octave to your range, that is disingenuous at best, because they can't add notes to your range that you don't already have. They may be able to teach you how to unlock them so that you can use them, but that should be a part of good technical development. And so, Bradley, I do have to stop short of telling you how wide a classically trained tenor should be, how wide their range should be. But again, I think any classical singing teacher worth their salt is, again, not going to be captivated by the idea of extending your range to start. They are going to be working with you on the development of that which you already have and then go from there. I've just seen a comment here from Ikaju Glory. Let's see if we can bring this comment up, because it's a nice comment. We've got Ikaju has just said, good morning, Dr. Dan. I'm watching from Nigeria. God bless you, sir. And right back at you, Ikaju Glory. I hope you're having a wonderful morning in Nigeria. And I actually have had the great pleasure of teaching a student in Nigeria at one point. Okay, let me come back to Rosemary. And yeah, Rosemary is going to be our last question. Rosemary, how's that? I think this is the question here. I want to have good vibrato when I sing. What exercises can you suggest for me? I'm 52 years old. Rosemary, I would, I do some vibrato work with in Voice Essentials 3, I'm very careful to call it vibrato exploration or exploring vibrato as opposed to developing vibrato, because we still don't know how vibrato is created. We still don't categorically know. We've got ideas and we've got thoughts, but as of the 21st of November 2022, I have not yet read any research that has definitively told us how vibrato is formed. What we do know is vibrato, for the most part, is developed in a voice that has freedom and balance and is not held tight and constricted. What I also know and have observed over nearly 3 decades of singing teaching is that even when a student develops said freedom and gets better balance and the airflow is consistent but not pressured and the voice is in exactly the right frame that we would want it to be in regards to vibrato, I have observed there is a small group, it is a small group, where vibrato does not seem to onset into the singing. What I can tell you though, Rosemary, is I don't get hung up by that. In contemporary voice, in fact, up until sort of the turn of the new century, sort of through the 90s when I first started teaching, I was taught to teach the removal of vibrato. And that was kind of our thinking back then. You know, in contemporary voice, we want to remove the vibrato, which we now know is a bit of a misnomer, because there are times where a singer may want to put in vibrato, but it was almost this reactionary response to classical, and contemporary were going, well, we're not going to have vibrato. In classical voice, a classical singer is going to need to pursue the development of vibrato. But in contemporary, we don't need it. You may want it, and there's nothing wrong with seeking to develop it. And the road to that development of vibrato is a balanced, healthy, even musculature that is free. But it's not an absolute. You don't have to have vibrato. And, you know, case in point, there are so many singers on the charts right now who almost seem to display both ends of the spectrum. Some will have this crazy wide vibrato that is a part of their vocal signature. It's fabulous. And then you got other people, you'll hear it more often in sort of rock, where there's no vibrato. It's like straight as a die. Both are right. There's no wrong here. You know, at the end of the day, what we're looking to do is develop a vocal signature that allows your voice to be identified as having unique characteristics that are, you know, directly connected to you. So that when people hear you sing, they go, oh, there's Rosemary. That's I know that voice anywhere because of X, Y, Z or what have you. So that's how we go about developing good vibrato. We have to develop our technique. It seems to be we spent a lot of time talking about technique today, as we often do, I guess. We want to develop our technique to the point where we've got a free, agile sound, but you don't necessarily need to have it. And hopefully, Rosemary, the fact that I left the exploration of vibrato until Voice Essentials 3, hopefully that communicates that whilst it's a subject matter that, in one sense, it is important that we look at it, it's not an absolute necessity to get you up and singing well. And I think on that note, we will call it a day. I do want to just remind you. Let me put this up for you all again. So, folks, remember for the next week, and it is only going to be the next week, the Black Friday sale at voiceessentials.com.au. When you use the Black Friday 50 coupon, that will give you 50% off everything. If you're in the US, you get an even bigger value at the moment because the US dollar is kicking the Australian dollar to the curb. And so you could really get a great bargain. And check out the Pro Bundle. That's because the Pro Bundle's got everything. Everything I've ever done is in the Pro Bundle. You get it all. And it is half price. It's actually great value at full price, but it is like a steal at half price. I hope you've had a great great time this afternoon. We've got one more show for the year, and we've got a special guest coming up. I know you've probably already had a bit of a stab in the dark as to who that special guest might be. I'm not going to tell you, but you have to chime back in next week for our final show of the year. I will let you know, I'm not going to abandon you over the 2 months. I have got a pre-record video already slated to go for every Wednesday. It's going to come out over that week, so there'll be a new Dr. Dan video every week. So the way to get even notified about those is you got to subscribe and you got to hit the white bell icon just so you're notified and you don't miss out. I hope you have a great week, everyone. I do hope that you are all safe and well as we head into what is the festive period. I'm looking forward to spending one more show with you in a few days. I'm Dr. Dan. Sing well.